Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Hip Senior Podcast. My name is Marianne Bailey. I'm your host. Today, we are with Dr. Mary Newport. She is the author of Alzheimer's Disease, What If There Was a Cure? The Story of Ketones. Dr. Mary, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Marianne. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast today.
Absolutely. Alzheimer's Disease, What If There Was a Cure? The Story of Ketones. Where did this book come from? What made you write it? And who are you?
Okay. I am a physician. I'm an MD. I am a newborn specialist, and I practice newborn intensive care in the Tampa Bay area of Florida for about 30 years. But at the same time, my husband, Steve, developed early onset Alzheimer's disease. His symptoms appeared when he was 51. He was going downhill very rapidly when he was age 58. And I happened upon a press release about a medical food for MCT oil, which helped nearly half of the people with Alzheimer's that took it. And I became very curious about it, learned as much as I could. And I was familiar with it because we used it in pre-newborns. It's in infant formulas. And I learned that MCT oil is converted to ketones in your liver. It's extracted from coconut oil, and ketones are a fuel for the cells in the brain.
Okay.
And in Alzheimer's, it's a type of diabetes of the brain. There's a problem of getting glucose into brain cells, and fuel cells need a fuel to operate. So ketones can replace glucose. And it was a really neat trick, a really neat idea. And it worked brilliantly for my husband. The medical food was MCT oil, but I learned it was extracted from coconut, and that's what I could get my hands on at that point. And he had a really dramatic response to it, continued to improve for a full year, enough that he was able to become a hospital volunteer at that point. And then he did quite well for nearly 4 years before he started having some problems again. So we gained 4 extra better years. This book, Alzheimer's Disease, What If There Was a Cure? The Story of Ketones, the first edition came out in 2011. This happened to Steve in 2008. And it basically goes into great detail about his story. He is the story of ketones, but there's more to the story of ketones. There were physicians and researchers who were studying ketones as a possible therapy for the brain starting in the 1960s. And then Dr. Richard Veach at the NIH in the 1990s intensively began studying how ketones could possibly benefit people with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, congestive heart failure, people that have had a heart attack, all of these different therapeutic uses of ketones. And I was just compelled to write this book because so many people are dealing with Alzheimer's, dementia, millions and millions of people around the world, people with Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, ALS, which is Lou Gehrig's disease, many different problems that have this issue of getting glucose into the brain normally. We're learning now even depression and anxiety. People with bipolar disorder have this problem. And there are now books out about using ketones to help with certain psychiatric issues, and then getting diabetes under control. So basically, I wrote this book to inform people as much as possible about all of this, starting with my husband's story, and then basically my journey through trying to get this message out to the Alzheimer's Association, going to their conference, meeting with Dr. Veach, going to the House of Representatives in Washington, D.C., and then all about the science. What is the science of this? And then how in the world do you incorporate these oils into your diet? Answers a whole lot of questions. And there's a chapter that has numerous excerpts from emails. I've had hundreds of people that have reported to me improvement in their loved one with some type of memory problem, with Alzheimer's, with Parkinson's, even children with autism, people with seizures, people with depression and anxiety. I've heard from so many people. I've collected these emails now since 2008, and a lot of them are in the book. And I have a 3rd edition of my book coming out September. This is what it looks like. And it greatly expands because the 2nd edition was written in 2013. It came out in 2013. We're 10 years later, and this research has exploded. And there's so much more to tell everybody about what has happened and what I've learned. I've learned that eating a very low carb, not very low, a low carb, a reasonable low carb diet, adding more healthy fats to the diet, including these ketogenic oils, MCT and coconut oil, can help people improve symptoms. It doesn't help everybody, but it helps an awful lot of people. But improving symptoms, possibly delaying the onset of or slowing down the progress of something like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's disease. And my third edition has several people that have had now 8 to 10 years of improvement by taking this approach to the diet. Plus emails from many other people, shorter excerpts about it. And then it talks about eating a whole food, healthy diet, how to plan such a diet, and just a gazillion questions and answers to how to use coconut and MCT oil and other ketone supplements that are now available on the market. Dr. Beach was developing a ketone ester back in the 1990s. My husband in 2010 was the first person with Alzheimer's to get to take this ketone ester. Dr. Beach sent it to us. It was a pilot study. It got published in the Alzheimer's Association journal, Alzheimer's and Dementia. So all of that is in this book, the whole story about that. He improved dramatically again when he started taking the ketone ester. It's out on the market now since 2018, and people need to find out about it and how they can get it and how to use it. Basically, that's where that book heads to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So who do you think are, again, everybody should be reading this, right? Because obviously if you don't have Alzheimer's, you don't want to go down that route, and eating healthy is much more affordable than healthcare once you're diagnosed with Alzheimer's. So
prevention is the strategy here. But if you're dealing with it, there's still things you can do to possibly improve and maybe slow it down. Okay. I totally agree with you. I think everybody could benefit from this. Even if you're in your 20s and 30s, you need to learn how to eat better. A lot of people do. Most people don't eat very well at this point. There's so much junk food out there, so much processed food, and sugar. Eating too much sugar is very bad for your brain health and your body. People with diabetes are more likely to develop dementia and Alzheimer's, much more likely.
And they're going to learn all of this information in your book. So they finished reading your book. They're full of information, but they can only have one thought about your book. What do you hope that thought is?
Yeah. My thought is Alzheimer's does not have to be your fate. There are things you can do, and many of these are nutrition related. If you're worried about this, it does not have to be your fate.
Okay.
Pick up a copy of the book and learn why.
Perfect thought.
What to do.
Great. Dr. Mary, thank you so much for being with us and telling us about your book, Alzheimer's Disease, What If There Was a Cure? The Story of Ketones. I hope everybody does benefit from Dr. Mary's book because, like she said, it doesn't have to be your fate. Check it out and buy it for other family members and other people that care for people with Alzheimer's, because it can help them even live longer and improve their brain functioning while they're in dementia. So just check it out. Go buy it.
Thank you so much, Mary Ann.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, everybody, for listening in.
Have a great day.
You too.